Andrew Tate continues splitting the Ummah, the Muslim community, like Muhammad split the moon. Except splitting the Ummah is real. Andrew Tate is somehow able to cause division even while he's in jail. It seems that Top G entered Islam with a giant crowbar made of pure narcissism, and he started ripping the Ummah apart. Somebody give that man a Bugatti. Now, when I say that the Tater is causing division, I mean that there are, on the one hand, Muslims who absolutely idolize him and think that he's a great influence on young Muslims, and on the other hand, Muslims who think he's a total scumbag and a terrible influence on young Muslims. If you're a Muslim who thinks Top G is bad for Islam, then you're probably concerned about how quickly young Muslims are falling for Tate's manipulation tactics. I read a tweet from one Muslim who said that seeing so many of his fellow Muslims idolizing Tate has convinced him that they'll follow the Dajjal, the Islamic Antichrist. He tweeted, "Seeing how Muslim men are treating Andrew Tate, I have no doubt we will follow Dajjal, as long as he's extremely misogynistic and markets himself as a Muslim." Extreme misogyny and reciting the Shahada. It's a recipe for millions of fans overnight. So, some Muslims who are concerned about Tate's influence are offering advice to young Muslims, trying to convince them to think twice before broadcasting their support for Tate and his views. One point I hadn't thought of, maybe because I have all sons and no daughters, comes from Asadullah Ali, who points out that these young Tate-supporting Muslims are eventually going to want to get married. These brainwashed Tater Tots are eventually going to have to meet some dads. Here's some advice from Asadullah. This was shared by Sajid Lipim on Twitter. "Let me be frank, as a father of a daughter. In the future, if any brother ever approached me to ask my daughter's hand in marriage, one of the first ways I'd vet them is by looking at their social media behavior." Not a bad idea. If I so much as see comments like, "Women age like milk," "Women are all stupid," "Women are inferior and slaves to men," and "Chad, simp, cuck, etc." on their timeline, I will automatically reject them as low-class filth, and I will tell it to his face before I kick his rectum out the door. Rectum? It nearly killed him. Why? Because no decent father who actually loves their daughter and wants the best for them would have a man talk to his female child that way or perceive her in that light. My daughter is the coolness of my eyes, my love, and everything I am willing to die for. If you so much as look down on her in the slightest, you're neither worthy of her hand nor my presence. And that's the sad reality a lot of these young brothers online will soon face, if they haven't already. Those are some high-quality father instincts from Asadullah Ali. If I had a daughter, I'd have the same reaction if a Tate fan wanted to marry my daughter. I'd say, "Are you kidding? Andrew Tate is your hero and you think you're getting anywhere near my daughter? Let me introduce you to her older brothers, who now know what you look like." So, as much as these young Muslim Tate fans may love running around acting like their webcam pimp idol, they're actually creating some future problems for themselves. Shocker of shockers, here I am once again agreeing with Muslims on something. But I do have one question for Muslim critics of Andrew Tate before I go. We agree that a Tate fan would not be a good match for any self-respecting woman. We agree that a good father wouldn't let a Tate fan anywhere near his daughter. But let's modify the scenario a bit. You Muslim fathers who are watching, suppose it's not a Tate fan who shows up at your door to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. Let's say your daughter is 6 years old. You just figured out where I'm going with this, didn't you? Let's say you have a 6-year-old daughter, and a man who's more than 50 years old shows up at your door, and he tells you that he had a dream. He had a dream that God was giving your 6-year-old daughter to him. You check the guy's social media pages, and you see some of the things he's written. You see where he said that women are intellectually deficient, and that their testimony is only half as reliable as a man's testimony. You see where he said that most of the inhabitants of hell are women, because women are, by nature, less moral than men. You see where he says that when a man wants sex, a woman has to drop whatever she's doing to pleasure him. You see where he says that if a woman is disobedient, her husband can beat her into submission, even if he has to beat her until her skin turns green. You see where he says that he plans to have 9 wives and some sex slaves, and where he says that he plans to have sex with all of his wives in a single day while only taking 1 bath. You see where he says that he wants your daughter to clean the never-ending supply of semen stains off his clothes. And you see where he says that he's going to marry your daughter when she's 6, consummate the marriage when she's 9, and die when she's 18, leaving her as a childless widow for the rest of her life, because no one's allowed to marry her after him. To non-Muslims, this sounds like the worst husband imaginable. But somehow, even Muslims who have very good father instincts, Muslim fathers who know never to let an Andrew Tate fan anywhere near their daughters, somehow these same fathers view Muhammad as the perfect example of a husband. Muhammad would be their dream partner for their daughters, even though Muhammad is significantly creepier than the worst Andrew Tate fan on the planet. There's a reason Andrew Tate converted to Islam. Islam confirmed his views about women. So it's really, really strange to see Muslim fathers warning young men, you'd better not come around here if you think like Andrew Tate. If you want to marry my daughter, you need to think like Prophet Muhammad, who had the exact same views as Andrew Tate. If you love your daughter, you shouldn't want her marrying anyone like Andrew Tate or Muhammad. But our Muslim friends can't say that because they know they idolize Muhammad. So they condemn the views of Andrew Tate while praising the views of Muhammad, the 7th century Andrew Tate. And that's why I don't see how the Muslim critics of Andrew Tate can win this one. Young Muslims are drawn to Andrew Tate because they realize that he's like Muhammad. How can Muslims like Asadullah Ali condemn Tate without condemning Muhammad? They can't. So they can't stop Tate's influence, which means that young Muslims will continue supporting Andrew Tate and that the Tater will continue dividing the Ummah. And if you have a problem with Top G dividing the Ummah, you must be an agent of the Matrix. No Bugattis and no virgins in paradise for you.
You died on that. You died on that. You died on that. It just backfired on you. You died on that. You died on that. You died on that. It just backfired on you. This is a part of our religion. There's a reason to it. Yeah?